Welcome to CBSE English Teacher. Let's now look at the line by line explanation of the first story of the lesson Memories of Childhood, entitled as The Cutting of My Long Hair for Class 12 English. About the author. Gertrude Siemens born in 1876, was an extraordinarily talented and educated Native American woman who struggled and triumphed in a time when severe prejudice prevailed towards Native American culture and women. As a writer, she adopted the pen name Zitkala Sa and in 1900 began publishing articles criticizing the Carlisle Indian School. Her works criticized dogma, and her life as a Native American woman was dedicated against the evils of oppression. Introduction to the lesson. The Cutting of My Long Hair is a story that showcases the discrimination faced by the Indians in the Western world. The story describes how an Indian girl was forced to wear Western dresses and cut her hair by her school authorities in order to make her look like an American student. Let's now look at the line by line explanation of the lesson. The first day in the land of apples was a bitter cold one, for the snow still covered the ground and the trees were bare. A large bell rang for breakfast, its loud metallic voice crashing through the belfry overhead and into our sensitive ears. The annoying clatter of shoes on bare floors gave us no peace. The constant clash of harsh noises with an undercurrent of many voices murmuring an unknown tongue made a bedlam within which I was securely tied. And though my spirit tore itself in struggling for its lost freedom, all was useless. Bare means uncovered. Crashing means breakthrough. Belfry means part of a bell tower. Clatter means bang or sound of heavy objects. And bedlam means uproar or unrest. The writer describes that her first day in the land of apples was extremely cold. The ground was fully covered with snow, whereas the trees were not covered with snow. A bell rang indicating breakfast time. It was a loud sound that broke through the part of the bell tower and reached into their sensitive ears. The disturbing sound of the tiptoe of the shoes was making the writer restless. There was a continuous noise everywhere as if the sounds were clashing with each other. There were people who were talking in an unknown language. She got so disturbed that she felt as if her freedom was lost. A pale-faced woman with white hair came up after us. We were placed in a line of girls who were marching into the dining room. These were Indian girls in stiff shoes and closely clinging dresses. The small girls wore sleeved aprons and shingled hair. As I walked noiselessly in my soft moccasins, I felt like sinking to the floor, for my blanket had been stripped from my shoulders. I looked hard at the Indian girls who seemed not to care that they were even more immodestly dressed than I in their tightly fitting clothes. When we marched in, the boys entered at an opposite door. I watched for the three young braves who came in our party. I spied them in the rear ranks looking as uncomfortable as I felt. Pale face means yellow face. Clinging means tight. Shingled means cutting off hair. Moccasins means slippers or shoes. Immodest means indecent. Spied means noticed or spotted. And rear ranks means last. A woman with yellow face and white hair went up to see the girls. Zitkala was placed in the line of girls who were heading towards the dining hall. She describes that they were the Indian girls who were wearing hard shoes and tight dresses. The small girls were wearing sleeved aprons and their hair were cut short. Zitkala was walking without making any noise of her shoes. She felt so ashamed when her blanket, means scarf or shawl, was removed from her shoulders. All the other Indian girls seemed to be very indecent to her, as all of them were wearing tight clothes, which were not a good thing as per the writer. As they were going to the dining room, the boys came from the opposite door. The writer notices the three boys who, according to her, were brave. She says so because they were also the new entrants into the school and were not wearing the dress like others. She looked at them while they were standing behind her. They were also not comfortable like her. A small bell was tapped, and each of the pupils drew a chair from under the table. Supposing this act meant they were to be seated, I pulled out mine and at once slipped into it from one side. But when I turned my head, I saw that I was the only one seated, and all the rest at our table remained standing. Just as I began to rise, looking shyly around to see how chairs were to be used, a second bell was sounded. All were seated at last, and I had to crawl back into my chair again. A small bell rang, and all the students dragged their chairs. The writer also pulled her chair, and she at once gets seated. But she found herself being noticed by all others, as none of them had seated. The next bell rang, and all the others seated themselves. The writer also did it once again, just to mend her mistake. I heard a man's voice at one end of the hall and looked around to see him, but all the others hung their heads over their plates. As I glanced at the long chain of tables, I caught the eyes of a pale-faced woman upon me. Immediately I dropped my eyes, wondering why I was so keenly watched by the strange woman. The man ceased his mutterings, and then a third bell was tapped. Everyone picked up his knife and fork and began eating. I began crying instead, for by this time I was afraid to venture anything more. Mutterings means privately explained complaints, and venture here means a risky task. Suddenly she heard a manly voice from one corner of the room. She tries to see the man, but found everyone looking down towards their plates. While she was looking at them, she saw that the yellow-faced woman was constantly looking at her. She dropped her eyes, but was feeling uncomfortable about being watched like this. The man stopped speaking, and with the ringing of the bell for the third time, all of them picked up their forks and knives and began eating. The writer got so afraid by the time that she started crying, as she did not want to get into such risky task anymore. But this eating by formula was not the hardest trial in that first day. Late in the morning, my friend Judwin gave me a terrible warning. Judwin knew a few words of English, and she had overheard the pale-faced woman talk about cutting our long, heavy hair. Our mothers had taught us that only unskilled warriors who were captured had their hair shingled by the enemy. Among our people, short hair was worn by mourners and shingled hair by cowards. Unskilled means untrained. Capture means caught or arrested. Mourners means a person at a funeral, and cowards means those who are not brave. The writer says that the way of eating was not the only thing which she thought to be the hardest one, but there was one more terrible thing that her friend Judwin told her. As she could understand a few words of English, so she had heard the pale-faced woman saying that their hair should be cut down. The writer didn't want to do it because she had heard her mother saying that only untrained warriors that are arrested by the enemy cut their hair. In their community, only those who either were at funeral or were cowards cut short their hair. As Zitkala was neither a coward nor a mourner, so she didn't want to cut her hair. We discussed our fate some moments. and when Judwin said, "We have to submit because they are strong," I rebelled. "No, I will not submit. I will struggle first," I answered. Fate means destiny or God's will, and rebel means revolt. Both Judwin and Zitkala discussed their destiny as they knew that their hair will be cut short. Judwin was of a view that they should agree to what the authorities wanted to, as they were stronger than these two girls. But the author was not ready for it, and so she decided to go against the school authorities. I watched my chance, and when no one noticed, I disappeared. I crept up the stairs as quietly as I could in my squeaking shoes. My moccasins had been exchanged for shoes. Along the hall I passed without knowing whither I was going. Turning aside to an open door, I found a large room with 3 white beds in it. The windows were covered with dark green curtains, which made the room very dim. Thankful that no one was there, I directed my steps towards the corner farthest from the door. On my hands and knees, I crawled under the bed and huddled myself in the dark corner. Crept means crawl or move on hands and knees. Squeaking means making high-pitched sound. Whither means where. Dim means dark, and huddled means holding arms and legs closely. She went upstairs very quietly without being noticed in order to safeguard her hair. She was trying to walk very quietly because her moccasins were exchanged with shoes that make sound while walking. She crossed the hall and went into a room without knowing where she was going. She entered into a room which had 3 beds and green curtains, making it a bit dark. She then crawled under a bed and hides herself from those who want to cut her hair. From my hiding place I peered out, shuddering with fear whenever I heard footsteps nearby. Though in the hall loud voices were calling my name, and I knew that even Judwin was searching for me, I did not open my mouth to answer. Then the steps were quickened and the voices became excited. The sounds came nearer and nearer. Women and girls entered the room. I held my breath and watched them open closet doors and peep behind large trunks. Someone threw up the curtains and the room was filled with sudden light. What caused them to stoop and look under the bed, I do not know. I remember being dragged out, though I resisted by kicking and scratching wildly. In spite of myself, I was carried downstairs and tied fast in a chair. Peered means tried to see. Shuddering means shivering or shaking. Dragged means pulled. Resisted means held out against. And scratching means scrapping. The writer shivered with the voice of footsteps whenever she tried to look out of her hiding place. She could hear many voices calling out for her name, including her friend Judwin. She did not reply to them. Soon she heard the sound of steps and voices growing stronger and stronger. Women and girls entered into the room where she was hiding. They were searching for her everywhere. Even the curtains were also removed. Soon she was found under the bed and was pulled out of it. She tried hard to safeguard herself, even scratched the other person, but she was taken away and tied up to a chair. I cried aloud, shaking my head all the while until I felt the cold blades of scissors against my neck and had them gnaw off one of my thick braids. Then I lost my spirit. Since the day I was taken from my mother, I had suffered extreme indignities. People had stared at me. I had been tossed about in the air like a wooden puppet, and now my long hair was shingled like a coward's. In my anguish, I mourned for my mother, but no one came to comfort me. Not a soul reasoned quietly with me, as my own mother used to do. For now I was only one of many little animals driven by a herder. Gnaw here means cut. Braids means hairs bind into a plait. Indignities means shame or humiliation. Stared means gazed. Tossed means thrown. Puppet means a wooden resemblance of humans or animals controlled with the help of strings. Anguish means pain. Mourned means cried or wailed. Comfort means console or sympathy. Reasoned here means discussed. And herder is a person who looks after the livestock, for example, herd of sheep. The author cried a lot as she doesn't want anyone to cut her hair. Suddenly she felt a pair of scissors behind her neck and soon her hair was cut down. She lost all her confidence and felt that she had always been humiliated since she was taken away from her mother. She recalled all her bad moments that embarrassed her. As people had gazed on her, she was thrown into the air like a puppet. But this time her hair was cut down and she felt like a coward. She was crying. She wailed for her mother as she used to console her in her sad moments, but today no one came to console her. No one tried to know her point of view. She felt like an animal that is part of a herd and is being herded by someone. This means now she was being controlled by someone else.